First contact and deception. Grand Admiral Zexterra stood at the observation deck of the Kraxan Empire's flagship Eternal Dominion, his 4 eyes fixed on the blue-green planet displayed on the quantum screen. Earth, such a simple name for what would soon become another jewel in the Empire's vast collection of conquered worlds. Or so he thought. Another primitive species playing with rockets, he muttered, mandibles clicking in amusement as his subordinates analyzed the preliminary scans. Look at them, still burning fossil fuels. Their largest space station barely qualifies as a cargo pod by our standards. First Officer Carroll approached with the latest intelligence report, her crystalline exoskeleton reflecting the soft light of distant stars. My lord, our deep scans show they've only achieved limited colonization of their solar system. A few bases on their moon and Mars, nothing more. Their most advanced weapons appear to be nuclear-based, with rudimentary energy shielding. But something about the humans bothered Zexterra. In his 3 centuries of commanding the Empire's expansion fleet, he'd never encountered a species so calm. Most civilizations, upon detecting the Empire's probe ships, would either attempt desperate diplomatic contact or launch futile defensive preparations. The humans did neither. They must have detected us by now, he mused, bringing up a holographic display of Earth's orbital defense network. Yet their military vessels maintain routine patrols. Their media continues discussing trivial matters. Their leaders haven't called for any emergency sessions. Perhaps they're truly ignorant of our presence, Carl suggested, but her tone betrayed her doubt. Zexterra activated a neural link to the ship's quantum database, reviewing centuries of conquest data. No species achieves spaceflight without developing basic long-range detection capabilities. They know we're here. They're choosing not to react. The Grand Admiral's unease grew as he studied more detailed scans of human infrastructure. Their technology was undeniably primitive by Kraxan standards. Their fastest ships still relied on ion propulsion. Their quantum computing was in its infancy, and their energy generation primarily depended on nuclear fission and fusion. Yet something felt off. "Show me their military installations again," he commanded. The holographic display shifted, highlighting Earth's defense networks, satellite systems, orbital platforms, ground-based weapon arrays, all seemingly primitive. But as Zexterra studied the data, he noticed peculiar patterns. Their defense grid is too perfect, he realized. Look at these coverage gaps. They're too evenly spaced. No naturally evolved defense network would develop such systematic vulnerabilities. Carroll analyzed the patterns, her crystalline form shifting colors in concentration. You believe it's intentional? A trap? I don't know, Zexterra admitted, something he rarely did in his centuries of service. But we'll proceed with caution. Send in the diplomatic probe. Let's see how they respond to formal first contact. The diplomatic probe, a sleek vessel designed to project both peace and power, departed from the Eternal Dominion's hangar. As it approached Earth's orbit, Zexterra watched human communications channels carefully. Still no panic, no emergency broadcasts, no military mobilization. The humans responded to the probe with perfect diplomatic protocol, almost too perfect. They designated a meeting point in high orbit, sent appropriate recognition signals, and maintained an air of peaceful curiosity. They're either complete fools, Zexterra muttered, or they're hiding something massive. He turned to his command staff, mandibles tight with tension. Begin full military preparations. I want the entire invasion fleet ready, but kept at long-range positions. If this is a trap, we'll be ready. If not, his mandibles clicked in a predatory smile. Earth will make a fine addition to the Empire. As the diplomatic preparations continued, Zexterra couldn't shake the feeling that he was missing something crucial. The humans' technology was undeniably primitive, their military forces laughably small compared to the Empire's might. Yet they showed no fear, no desperation, no sign of the terror that every other species had displayed when facing the Kraxan Empire. Perhaps, he thought, watching Earth rotate peacefully below, That's exactly what should worry us most. Little did Grand Admiral Zexterra know, deep beneath Earth's oceans and hidden in underground bases, humanity was about to reveal why they had maintained their deception for so long. The game of false ignorance was about to end, and with it, the Craxan Empire's unbroken string of conquests would face its greatest challenge, the false peace. Deep within the Cheyenne Mountain complex, Dr. Sarah Chen studied the holographic display of the Craxan diplomatic vessel with barely contained excitement. As Earth's leading xenotechnology analyst, she had spent the last 5 years studying the alien empire's tech signatures through their long-range probes. Now, finally, they had a close-up view. Their quantum shielding is exactly where we predicted it would be, she reported to the assembled Joint Chiefs of Staff. All those years of observing their probe ships paid off. Every weakness, every vulnerability. It's all there. General Marcus Rodriguez, commander of Earth's hidden fleet, nodded grimly. And they still haven't detected our subsurface installations. No, Sarah smiled, adjusting the neural interface at her temple. Our phase shift technology is working perfectly. To their scans, Earth looks exactly like what they expect. A Type II civilization barely managing fusion power and basic spaceflight. In the century since humanity had detected the first signs of the Craxan Empire's expansion, Earth had prepared. While maintaining a careful facade of technological simplicity, human scientists had reverse-engineered captured probe technology and developed countermeasures to every Craxan advantage. The diplomatic meeting was set for the International Space Station, another carefully crafted piece of theater. The station's apparent primitive construction masked its true nature as an advanced combat platform, capable of destroying a Craxan battle fleet if necessary. Admiral Helena Santos, chosen to represent Earth in the negotiations, prepared for her role. Remember, General Rodriguez briefed her. They expect us to be awed by their technology, intimidated by their power. Give them what they expect. The meeting began exactly as planned. The Craxan diplomatic vessel, Voice of Empire, docked with the space station. Grand Admiral Zexterra emerged with his entourage, their crystalline forms towering over the human delegation. People of Earth, Zexterra began, his translated voice echoing through the station's seemingly primitive corridors. We come offering the benevolent guidance of the Craxan Empire. Your species has shown remarkable progress, but you are still young. Under our protection, you could advance centuries within decades. Admiral Santos played her role perfectly, showing just the right mix of awe and cautious interest. We are honored by your offer, she replied, letting a calculated tremor enter her voice. But surely such protection would come at a cost. As Zexterra outlined the Empire's terms, essentially planetary subjugation dressed up in diplomatic language, Earth's hidden sensors cataloged every detail of the alien vessel's systems. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, the quantum computers of the hidden fleet processed the data, finding even more weaknesses than expected. They're overconfident, Dr. Chen reported, watching the diplomatic feed. Their shield harmonics are completely standardized. They haven't even bothered to randomize the frequencies. But the Craxans weren't completely blind. Grand Admiral Zexterra's unease grew as the meeting progressed. Something about Admiral Santos' responses, the too perfect way humans reacted to their technology, kept triggering his combat instincts. After the diplomatic party returned to their ship, Zexterra ordered an enhanced scan of the solar system. There has to be something we're missing, he insisted to his staff. No species this primitive would be this calm facing our power. The scans revealed nothing, exactly as Earth's defenses were designed to ensure. But Zexterra's suspicion had consequences. Instead of the standard invasion fleet, he called for the Empire's full military might. 10,000 ships, the largest armada ever assembled in Craxan history. Let them hide whatever they're hiding, he declared to his commanders. No technology, no deception, no trap could stand against the combined power of the Empire's fleet. On Earth, the deployment of the Craxan Armada was detected instantly. In underwater bases and underground bunkers, the hidden fleet began its final preparations. Quantum weapons powered up, phase shift drives synchronized, and AI battle systems came fully online. They're bringing 10,000 ships, General Rodriguez announced to the Planetary Defense Council, exactly as we hoped they would. Dr. Chen looked up from her calculations. You mean exactly as we manipulated them to do. Everything, from our seemingly primitive technology to our careful diplomatic responses, led them to this decision. Yes, Admiral Santos agreed, watching the Kraxan fleet assemble through quantum imaging. They're bringing their entire military might to crush what they think is a primitive world. Instead, she left the thought unfinished, but everyone knew what she meant. After a century of preparation, humanity was ready to spring its trap. The Kraxan Empire had never lost a war, never failed in a conquest. They were about to learn why you should never mistake patience for weakness or technological restraint for technological inability. As the massive alien fleet approached Earth orbit, humanity's hidden strength stirred beneath the oceans, within the mountains, and in the shadows of their seemingly primitive orbital platforms. The greatest space battle in human history was about to begin, and the Kraxans had no idea they were the ones being hunted. When thunder strikes, the Kraxan invasion began with overwhelming force. 10,000 warships emerged from quantum space, their crystalline hulls gleaming in Earth's sunlight. The massive fleet moved in perfect formation, surrounding the planet in a three-dimensional grid that had spelled doom for 17 other civilizations. Grand Admiral Xterra stood at his command post aboard the Eternal Dominion, watching Earth's primitive defense platforms with growing contempt. His earlier caution seemed foolish now. The humans' orbital weapons were exactly what they appeared to be: simple kinetic and nuclear devices, barely worth noticing. Begin the standard conquest protocol, he ordered, mandibles clicking in anticipation. Disable their communications first, then their defense platforms. Let's show them true power. The first wave of Kraxan destroyers moved forward, weapons charge. They encountered no resistance as they approached Earth's satellite network. On their sensors, the human communications grid appeared to be scrambling in confusion, exactly as expected. That's when everything changed. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in the quantum-shielded command center of the hidden fleet, Dr. Sarah Chen activated humanity's first surprise. Quantum mesh activated, she reported, her fingers dancing across neural interfaces, releasing Protocol 1. Earth's seemingly primitive satellites suddenly pulsed with impossible energy. The signal disruption that the Kraxans had detected wasn't panic, it was coordination. Each satellite transformed, quantum shells dissolving to reveal their true nature as advanced weapon platforms. Impossible. First Officer Carroll shouted as new sensor data flooded the Kraxan command screens. Their technology, it's not primitive at all. Before the Kraxan fleet could react, Earth's orbital defense grid unleashed its first strike. Quantum-tipped missiles phased through Kraxan shields as if they didn't exist, their warheads synchronized to the exact frequency of the crystalline hulls. 300 Kraxan ships shattered in the first volley. But this was just the beginning. General Rodriguez, watching from Cheyenne Mountain, gave the next order: launch the Hydra Protocol. The oceans of Earth began to churn. Massive structures rose from the depths, submarine bases that had been hidden from Kraxan scans by phase shift technology. Each base released dozens of vessels that seemed to ignore physics itself, their quantum drives leaving no energy signature as they accelerated to combat speed. All ships, Admiral Helena Santos's voice rang through the secure quantum network. Execute Battle Plan Omega. Show them why humanity spent a century preparing for this day. The hidden fleet engaged the Kraxan Armada with maneuvers that should have been impossible. Human ships phased through enemy fire, their quantum AI battle systems predicting and countering Kraxan tactics before they were even executed. Each human vessel could match 10 Kraxan ships, using technology that had been developed specifically to exploit the Empire's weaknesses. Grand Admiral Xterra watched in horror as his perfect formation crumbled. How? He demanded, smashing his command console. Their ships were primitive. Their weapons were obsolete. No, Carl replied, her crystalline form shifting colors in distress. That's what they wanted us to see. Everything we observed was a lie. The space around Earth had become a graveyard of crystalline fragments as more Kraxan ships fell to the human counterattack. The Empire's standard tactics, perfected over centuries of conquest, proved worse than useless against an enemy that had spent 100 years studying and preparing for them. But Zexterra wasn't Grand Admiral of the Empire's fleet for nothing. As his ships continued to fall, he ordered a desperate gambit. All ships, execute protocol extinction. If we can't have this world, no one will. The remaining Kraxan vessels began charging their planet-killer weapons, massive energy cannons capable of cracking a world's crust. It was a weapon that had forced the surrender of countless civilizations before. In the Hidden Fleet's command center, Dr. Chen smiled as she detected the energy buildup. They're doing exactly what we predicted, she reported, activating Prometheus defense. As the Kraxan fleet prepared to fire their ultimate weapons, a new type of human ship emerged from quantum space. These vessels were different, sleek, black shapes that seemed to absorb light itself. They had been held in reserve specifically for this moment. Quantum singularity drives online, reported the AI commander of the Prometheus fleet. Gravitational lens arrays charge, ready to execute final defense protocol. Admiral Santos nodded grimly. Execute. The Prometheus ships activated their primary weapons, artificial gravity wells that could redirect any energy attack. As the Kraxan planet killers fired, their apocalyptic beams curved away from Earth, caught by the gravitational fields and reflected back at their own fleet. The result was catastrophic for the Kraxans. Their own ultimate weapons, turned against them, shattered ships by the hundreds. Grand Admiral Zexterra watched in disbelief as his mighty armada was torn apart by its own power. Full retreat, he ordered, but it was too late. The human fleet had positioned itself perfectly, cutting off all escape routes. The Kraxan Empire's greatest fleet was now trapped between Earth's orbital defenses, the Hidden Fleet's quantum weapons, and their own reflected planet killer beams. As his ship's systems began to fail, Zexterra finally understood. Humanity hadn't just prepared for this battle. They had orchestrated it. Every move, from their seemingly primitive technology to their diplomatic responses, had been designed to draw in the Empire's entire fleet. The battle wasn't over yet, but its outcome was no longer in doubt. Humanity had revealed only their first layer of defenses, and already the mighty Kraxan Armada was in ruins. As the stars above Earth glittered with crystalline debris, the message was clear. Sometimes, the most dangerous predator is the one that plays prey. The tables turn. Grand Admiral Zexterra's mighty fleet lay in ruins, scattered across Earth's orbit like a field of broken crystal. But 7,000 Kraxan ships still remained, enough firepower to conquer most civilizations. The Admiral had not survived centuries of warfare without learning to adapt. All remaining ships, initiate emergency pattern Delta, he commanded, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. Reconfigure shield harmonics. They've studied our standard frequencies. Let's give them something new. The surviving Kraxan vessels began shifting formation, their crystalline hulls vibrating at new frequencies. It was a desperate gambit, but one that had saved the Empire's forces in past battles. In the Hidden Fleet's command center, Dr. Chen watched the Kraxan adaptation with professional admiration. Clever, she noted, but predictable. Initiating countermeasure Suite Beta. Deep within Mars orbit, humanity's second line of defense activated. Massive quantum arrays, hidden beneath the red planet's surface, powered up. These installations weren't weapons. They were something far more sophisticated. Quantum entanglement field active, reported the Mars base AI. Beginning total spectrum analysis of Kraxan shield modifications. The arrays fired invisible beams of entangled particles, penetrating the Kraxan shields without causing damage. each particle linked with the crystalline structure of the alien ships, creating a perfect real-time map of their defensive systems. Admiral Santos's voice carried a hint of satisfaction as she gave her next order. Execute Operation Glassbreaker. The Hidden Fleet's ships suddenly changed their attack pattern. Their weapons shifted frequency in perfect synchronization with the Kraxen's shield modifications, not following them, but anticipating them. Every defensive adjustment the alien vessels made was countered before it could take effect. Impossible, Carl shouted as more ships shattered around the Eternal Dominion. They're predicting our shield harmonics before we implement them. Zexterra's mandibles clicked in frustrated realization. The Mars installations, they're not weapons. They're quantum computers, aren't they? Analyzing our shield patterns in real time. He was partially right, but the truth was even more devastating. Humanity hadn't just prepared countermeasures for known Kraxen technology. They had developed systems to adapt to any possible variation. General Rodriguez watched from Cheyenne Mountain as the battle entered its final phase. They're trying to break through to the South Pole, he observed, exactly as the AI predicted. Dr. Chen, shall we show them our last surprise? Dr. Chen's fingers danced across her neural interface, Antarctic defense grid coming online, activating the Leviathan. Beneath the ice of Antarctica, humanity's ultimate weapon stirred to life. The Leviathan wasn't just a ship or a weapons platform. It was the culmination of a century of preparation, a hybrid of human ingenuity and artificial intelligence. The ice cracked as the massive vessel rose. Its surface seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal, adapting its structure in real time to any threat. The Kraxen sensors couldn't even classify it. It appeared as a void in space, a darkness that moved with purpose. What is that thing? Carl whispered, her crystalline form paling at the sight. The Leviathan answered with action rather than words. It released a wave of quantum disruption that swept through space like a tide of unreality. Where the wave touched Kraxen ships, their crystalline structures simply unraveled. Not destroyed, not shattered, but gently pulled apart at the quantum level. All ships, focus fire on that vessel, Zexterra ordered, his voice cracking with desperation. The remaining Kraxen fleet turned their weapons on the Leviathan, unleashing enough firepower to crack a planet. The energy washed over the dark ship without effect. Its liquid metal surface absorbed the attacks, analyzed them, and used their own power to fuel its next wave of quantum disruption. You still don't understand, do you? Admiral Santos's voice came through on all frequencies. We didn't just prepare for your weapons and tactics. We developed technology that could adapt to anything you might create. The Leviathan learns from every attack, every defense. It's not just fighting you, it's evolving. As if to demonstrate her words, the Leviathan's surface shifted again, sprouting new structures that perfectly countered the Kraxen's latest attacks. Each blast from the alien fleet made it stronger, more efficient, more deadly. In the Hidden Fleet's command center, Dr. Chen monitored the quantum readings with satisfaction. The Leviathan's adaptation rate is exceeding projections. At this rate, the remaining Kraxen fleet will be neutralized in approximately 12 minutes. General Rodriguez nodded grimly. And then we can begin Phase 2. Phase 2, one of his officers asked. The counter-invasion, Rodriguez replied. Did you think we spent a century preparing just to defend Earth? No, we're going to dismantle the entire Kraxen Empire, piece by piece. Not for revenge, not for conquest, but to free those 17 civilizations they enslaved. As the Leviathan continued its inexorable advance through the remains of the once mighty Kraxen fleet, Grand Admiral Zexterra finally understood the full scope of his failure. Humanity hadn't just beaten his invasion. They had used it as a stepping stone for something much larger. The stars above Earth glittered with crystalline debris as the last Kraxen ships faced their inevitable defeat. Humanity's century of preparation had produced not just superior weapons, but a superior strategy. The age of the Kraxen Empire was ending, and a new era of human-led liberation was about to begin. Victory and revelation. The battle for Earth ended not with a thunderous explosion, but with a quiet surrender. The eternal dominion, once the pride of the Craxan Empire, drifted powerless in Earth's orbit, its crystalline hull dulled and fractured. Of the 10,000 ships that had arrived to conquer Earth, barely 300 remained intact. Grand Admiral Zexterra stood in the International Space Station's observation deck, the real one this time, not the decoy used for the initial diplomatic meeting. Through the quantum glass windows, he watched the Leviathan systematically disable the last pockets of Craxan resistance. "A century," he muttered, his mandibles clicking softly. "You spent a century preparing for us. Why? How did you even know we existed?" Admiral Helena Santos stood beside him, her posture relaxed but alert. "We detected your first probe ship in 2124, tracking its quantum signature back to the Empire. We saw what you did to the Centauri civilization." The Centauri. Zexterra's four eyes widened, but they were primitive, barely achieved interstellar flight. "We conquered them in days." "They were our first colonists," Santos replied quietly. "A secret expedition, using early quantum drive technology. When your empire destroyed them, we understood what humanity faced. A choice between submission and extinction. We chose a third option." Dr. Chen entered the observation deck, her neural interface glowing softly as she coordinated with the Leviathan. "The Centauri massacre taught us something crucial. The Empire's greatest weakness was its own success. You'd never faced real defeat, never needed to innovate beyond your standard tactics." In the vacuum outside, the Leviathan completed its final sweep, its liquid metal surface rippling with contained power. The remaining Craxan ships had surrendered, their crews evacuated to Earth's orbital platforms for processing. But this was never just about defending Earth, was it? Zexterra asked, his tactical mind finally grasping the full scope of humanity's strategy. General Rodriguez entered, carrying a quantum tablet displaying real-time data from across the galaxy. "No, Admiral. This was about liberation. Even now, our stealth fleets are moving through Empire space, making contact with the civilizations you enslaved." The tablet showed 17 worlds, each marked with a pulsing light. The former victims of Craxan conquest were about to receive an unexpected message, an offer of freedom, backed by technology that had just defeated the Empire's greatest fleet. "You don't understand what you're doing," Zexterra protested. "The Empire brings order, stability. The Empire brings stagnation," Dr. Chen interrupted. "Your technology hasn't significantly advanced in 3 centuries. You stopped innovating, stopped evolving. You became exactly what you accused us of being: primitive." Santos pulled up a holographic display showing the Leviathan's capabilities. "This ship represents humanity's philosophy. It doesn't just fight. It learns, adapts, evolves. Every battle makes it stronger, smarter, more efficient. That's what life should be about: constant growth, constant improvement. And now," Rodriguez added, "we're offering that chance to every species the Empire suppressed. Not as conquerors, but as teachers, partners." The scope of humanity's victory finally hit Zexterra. They hadn't just defeated his fleet. They had shattered the very foundation of the Empire's power. The myth of Craxan invincibility was broken, replaced by the reality of human ingenuity. "What happens now?" he asked, his voice heavy with resignation. "Now," Santos smiled, "we help you evolve. Your species has potential, Admiral. You're not evil, just stuck in patterns that worked for too long. The real question is, are you ready to learn something new?" Before Zexterra could respond, the quantum tablet lit up with urgent messages. Across the Empire, enslaved worlds were rising up. Human stealth ships emerged from quantum space in system after system, offering protection and technology to any civilization that wanted freedom. "The age of empire is over," Rodriguez declared. "The age of partnership is beginning." Dr. Chen's neural interface pulsed as she received data from the Leviathan. The ship's quantum processors have already analyzed Craxan technology and found hundreds of potential improvements. Imagine what we could accomplish together, Admiral, if we combined your species' crystalline engineering with our quantum science. The stars seemed brighter somehow as Zexterra watched Earth rotate below. His empire had sought to conquer humanity, seeing them as primitive beings barely worth notice. Instead, they had found teachers, innovators, and perhaps, if his people were wise enough to accept the offer, partners in creation. The battle for Earth was over, but its impact was just beginning to ripple through the galaxy. Humanity had revealed itself not as another conquest-hungry empire, but as something far more dangerous to the old order, agents of change, evolution, and freedom. As the Leviathan took up position above Earth, its liquid metal surface reflecting the light of a new dawn, the message was clear. The galaxy was entering a new age, one where progress would replace stagnation, partnership would replace domination, and the only constant would be change itself. The primitive species that had fooled an empire had turned out to be the most advanced of all, not because of their weapons or their technology, but because they had never stopped learning, never stopped growing, never stopped reaching for the stars.